A frog he would a wooing go. Hey ho, says Rolly. A frog he would a wooing go. Whether his mother would let him or no, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. So off he set with his opera hat. Hey ho, says Rolly. So off he set with his opera hat, and on the road he met with a rat. With a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. Pray, Mr. Rat, will you go with me? Hey ho, says Rolly. Pray, Mr. Rat, will you go with me? Kind Mistress Mousy for to see, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. And when they came to Mousy's hall, hey ho, says Rolly. And when they came to Mousy's hall, they gave a loud knock and they gave a loud call, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. Pray, Mistress Mouse, are you within? Hey ho, says Rolly. Pray, Mistress Mouse, are you within? Oh yes, kind sirs, I'm sitting to spin, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. Pray, Mistress Mouse, will you give us some beer? Hey ho, says Rolly. Pray, Mistress Mouse, will you give us some beer? For Froggy and I are fond of good cheer, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. Indeed, Mistress Mouse, replied Mr. Frog. Hey ho, says Rolly. Indeed, Mistress Mouse, replied Mr. Frog. A cold has made me as hoarse as a dog, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. Since you have caught cold, Mr. Frog Mouse, he said. Hey ho, says Rolly. Since you have caught cold, Mr. Frog Mouse, he said, I'll sing you a song that I have just made, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. But while they were all a merry-making, hey ho, says Rolly. But while they were all a merry-making, a cat and her kittens came tumbling in, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. The cat, she sees the rat by the crown. Hey ho, says Rolly. The cat, she sees the rat by the crown. The kittens, they pulled the little mouse down, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. This put Mr. Frog in a terrible fright. Hey ho, says Rolly. This put Mr. Frog in a terrible fright. He took up his hat and he wished them good night, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. But as Froggy was crossing over a brook, hey ho, says Rolly. But as Froggy was crossing over a brook, a lily-white duck came and gobbled him up, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly. So there was an end of 1, 2, and 3. Hey ho, says Rolly. So there was an end of 1, 2, and 3. The rat and the mouse and the little froggy, with a roly-poly, gammon and spinach. Hey ho, says Anthony Rolly.